All right, guys, just wanted to get you a tutorial. Today it's going to be about doing detail views and how we handle that in Revit. So we can add detail views to our projects. We can think about kind of the way that CAD has done it in the past. And basically it's all line work, hatch patterns, and maybe even blocks, things like that. So usually what you want to do is you want to set up your drafting view. Okay. So what you're looking at right now is just an example of kind of where I want to get to. And I'm going to take you from that. And we're going to start out in Revit. And that way we can just simply move it forward from there. Okay. So let me switch over to the Revit. Okay, so I'm in a floor plan. I've got a wall section here I've already set up for myself, and I want to get into that view, which is right here, ready to go. As you can see, it's carrying some of the walls and the footing, and you can see that the foundation starts to come down and whatnot. And so I don't want to do all this by pure modeling. I want to do it through 2D details. So that's my intent here. Could I model it? Yeah, but for this is going to be a drafting view. Now, the difference is that whenever I'm selecting these, you can see that I'm picking a real wall. This is actually 3D component. This is literally modeled within the 3D area. Every time I pick it, you can see that it's part of something real, okay? Now, what I want to create is, actually, I did say the word drafting, but I'm not going to build this in drafting. I'm going to actually take the live model and modify what I have, okay? We can show it that way, but I'm just going to go this way. All right. So usually when we start annotating these kind of things and we want to like make this look correct and we want to make this look like concrete with its pattern, I know we usually don't show it within color. So down here in the view control bar, we can go to the hidden line view. I would suggest setting it to the fine level of detail, at least medium, because that way you can get the layers within the walls showing up. So usually most people want to dress up the space with things like the concrete or the different CMU blocks and the insulation, right? So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the insulation that goes right here in the stud of the wall. For this particular wall, this one is a wood stud, so we would insulate it. It's on the outside of the building. So go to Architecture tab, and actually, my apologies, it is an annotation. My apologies. Get in the insulation, and it snaps to the centers. So you can see that dash blue line is making that up for me, so I can click, and I can drag it along all the way till I get to the bottom. Now, I will say this, is that this does not understand what size I wanted. It just happened to be at 3.5 inches, and that was the last size that was used, so that was convenient. If it was the wrong size for my wall, I could change that width right there. So if it was 5.5 or something, then you can see that that responds, okay? In this case, my wall is not that large, so we'll bring it down to the 3.5, and that's appropriate, okay? So that puts in my wall insulation right there. And then from here, I want to start kind of working on getting the concrete to kind of make that little turn right here. There's a couple things I can do. Oh, also I'd like, because that image, remember I was showing you the image from before, and we noticed that the exterior finish was kind of coming down a little bit. I think it was right about at this reference line we have, okay? So I want to show you how to do that. So the next thing you want to do is select this wall, head into the type properties of the wall. And what we want to do is we want to be able to extend the layers independently, okay? So I want to extend these two layers right here. And so what I want to do is hit edit, and I need to choose the modify button. By the way, if you're not in section and you're in floor plan, you cannot access these things. They will be gray. Go to your section and zoom in. You need to zoom in, okay? Because you're gonna have to get a hold of a line right here. Click modify, then hover over that line right there. Click on it one time, you'll notice there's a padlock. Now here's the key. Notice that it turns yellow when I put my mouse over it. That means I can unlock it. Also, I must unlock the one next to it. There we go. And I'm going to say OK. And I do not need apply because I'm finishing the command. So I just hit OK. Now notice I've got an extra grip here. All right. which means I can pull this material independently like that. Also, these properties are residing right here in the base extension distance, which is a -7 inches below my floor. I'd like to go actually 8 for this one. Okay, let's go 8. All right, there we go. All right, so now that finish, by the way, has reacted in 3D because it's part of the original wall. So this has definitely happened in 3D, not just this view here. So everything we have so far is three-dimensional except for this guy. The insulation batting is the only thing 2D, which means it only shows up in this typical wall section that I've made, okay? Now, I'd like to switch over this to a pattern that looks like stacked CMU. Now, currently, I don't have any. So typically though, if we did have it loaded, we could go to annotate and we could go to repeating detail and I could use that. But first, I'm gonna go load it in. Insert, go through the cloud, and I'm going to press home to clear that. It's a detail item. And I can type in CMU. The reason why the word CMU will work is because you can see in parts of these names, it carries the words of CMU. Revit has no idea that it's a category of CMU or anything like that. So it is solely searching based on its name, okay? So it's a section that I want. There's different ones, there's different types of patterns that you could use here. I'm gonna go for this first one. All right, we'll click load. And it says I've already got it. So I'll just choose the overwrite and I'm gonna start using it. So in the annotate tab, under the components buttons, by the way, if you LT, you would not have all this extra stuff. Actually, I take that back. LT does have this. I was thinking of the place a component and versus the model in place, but annotate, drop down, hit repeating detail component. Make sure that that's what you're looking for. If not, you could find whatever it was that's in this list. I only have one item, so there's only one listed. I could load in more if I wanted, but there's only one right now. It's a linear element, so that's why I get these draw tools as straight lines or pick lines. So I'm going to start at the bottom down here. Notice that when I click into the view and I hover, I haven't clicked anything in the view just yet. I'm going to click and I let go of the left click of the mouse, just move my mouse upward. Looks like its insertion point is on the outside of it. That's why it's looking that way. I'm going to go up to the point that I need for the amount I need, which is this many. All right, and I'm going to finish that, and then I'm going to put these into place. I'll get my alignment tool. If I cannot get that face on my alignments, I can check up here to see why it's giving me center lines right away. I'll say, let's give me wall faces instead. And now when I hover, I get that by default. And then I can click there and it has put itself into the right place. All right, so we're in better shape now. I've got my grout showing up. I've got my CMU sections showing up now. And we're getting closer and closer to what we had before. I'm sorry, what we desired to make in the beginning of this session when I showed you that detail. All right, another thing that we could do too is the concrete here is made up of a floor here. If I select this family, it is a slab edge. It's probably a different material is why we're not seeing that they're merged together. I can try a join first. So I'll go join this to that. All right, so it is joined, but it's probably not of the same material. Therefore, we're not getting a continuous. Plus, I don't have the turn down in this that I would like to see too. Now, there is a model turn down that structure does have, and it's right over here called slab edge. All right, and that would usually have that little angle in it. All right, now I'm going to show you for the purposes of 2D that it doesn't. But let me check that material too. So it says it's a concrete cast in place gray. Let me see what the floor is. Select that one. Concrete. Okay, it's two different materials. That's why they won't seamlessly join. So let's borrow this material since it's the floor. I'm going to Control C copy it, canceling out, selecting this little piece down here, editing the type, and I'm going to paste that in and say okay, and try that join once more. All right, so there's probably other reasons too. They could be separated enough by something to create the line. Either way, our intent here is to actually put in a filled region over the top of it, okay? And that way I can get that little turn down angle too. And plus I can fill up this little spot right here. all right? So let's go ahead and do that. Annotation tab, and we're gonna get the field region, and I'm gonna find the concrete one, and I'm gonna use the pick line tool. The reason why is that I've got edges I can borrow. So I've got the floor edge, I got this edge, that edge, and I'm gonna put an angle in over here in a minute. So I'm just trying to close up my shape with lines, okay? Let me put on my thick lines so you can see kind of a little bit better what's going on right now. So I'm gonna use this corner tool that's gonna put line work together. So I'm gonna go up here and put that top one together so it's an enclosed shape right there. I'm gonna do these ends right here because our shapes must be in a closed loop. And then this one's gonna be part of a 45-degree angle that I'm gonna put in. So I'm gonna hit my straight line tool. I'm gonna start here at the end, and Revit's letting me know where those degrees of angles are, which is nice. I'm gonna use that corner trim again, pick there and there. Okay, so this is gonna act like a mask. It's gonna cover this over for me. I'm gonna finish it. And when I click away, notice it's cleaned that up nicely. All right, now I did use thin lines as a way of doing that. If you feel like those lines are too thin, meaning because this is a cut section, maybe it should be wider like that, just select your build region, edit its boundary, select your lines. I do it through selection windows, and then you can change it to something like a medium line weight. You can go to wide lines. These are out of the box. Revit does have some of these that somebody named as certain things, so you could use them if you felt like they were the correct thickness. I'm just going to go for wide lines in my case, all right? And you can already see that the thickness grew. I'll finish it, and that's better. Not exactly what I want, so one more time. I'm gonna get something bigger, thicker. I want a wider line there. Let me see here. Do we have something thicker? No, that guy's not. Now, if I had looked at these ahead of time, I would know what they are. Wider lines. I'll just go for those. All right. There is a way to override those if you didn't like it. You could select right click and choose override graphics. And since this is a single element, I'll choose element. And what I'd be interested in is the thickness, the line weight, right? And so under projection lines, it has a weight right here that I can choose. So I think probably about a 5 might be good. I can apply it, see how that looks. That's not enough. Let's try 8. Apply it. Getting better, huh? Maybe it's a 9. And say okay. All right, I'm happy with that. That looks fine. Okay, so that gives us the concrete turned down. We've got it stacked on top of these CMUs, and that's working out for us pretty good. All right, so the next thing that we want to do in here is we would need things like pieces of rebar possibly. Now this is because we're working with a concrete, we're not working with a window in this case. So to add reinforcing into it, Revit does have these families. If you happen to go into the Autodesk families and try to load in some details, it's remembering the last thing I did here. So if I put in like rebar in here, you can sort it out by category, but I like the words. Single piece of rebar, that would work too. If you don't want to go through all this and putting that in here, you don't have to. You can absolutely use just a line. Go to annotate, detail line, and maybe you have something in here already set up called rebar, like I do right here, okay? And then you can just go ahead and lay it out wherever, whatever the cover will be for that. You know, each one has a different cover. If you were making it to scale, you're probably gonna, add whatever that amount is. Okay, whoops, that went to feet. My apologies. I'm using that temporary dimension to help me out. 1.5 inches, enter. Okay, that's my cover. All right, and then I think cover's actually mentioned from the top down. I apologize if I got that backward, guys. Don't criticize me. I'm going for 3 inches, okay? If it's wrong, just make it whatever it should be. I'm not a professional in structural. All right, the next thing is you're gonna put in another piece here, and since it's possibly down the middle, you could use that snap line that's helping you out. And then it's gonna come off to the right here. All right, and then this guy is actually going to go into this as well. Okay, I think this goes a little bit further, yeah. And then we'll get a J-bolt and we'll get some studs for the base down here to put in here too. They do work off of draw orders, so keep that in mind. Let me get one more family here. We'll insert, go to family. And I'm gonna go for a rebar one more time. I'm looking for the side view of that. So they do have them. They just look like dots, basically. Uh, Concrete column, no. Um, I'm just loading it up. I like these previews. It's a lot easier to find what you're looking for by a visual instead of needing to read every single thing. You can change it from this view to a list view if you felt like that was easier to look at. You don't have to look at them all together like I'm showing you right here in that grid view there. So I'm just looking for that rebar. Uh, there it is, rebar section. I'm gonna select that, load it, and it says I already have it, but I'll override it. Back to my annotate, it is a detail component. It's not repeating this one. So I'm gonna look in here, type in my rebar word. All right, so they're actually inside of the detail component. It's just under a listing of reinforcing bar section instead of rebar. Or if you knew what number that you're supposed to be using, then you could use that. You just pick whatever it is. I think I've got a number 4 here, so I'll choose that. And then I can put them in their spots where they should go. Okay. And I'm just kind of randomly placing them again, guys. Please don't judge me. This is just simply for demonstration purposes, so that way a person could go about putting these things together. Okay. All right. Oh, I needed that to be, and I need to put another piece here, so I'll just repeat that. And this will be the horizontal piece of rebar. And I need that to be J-shaped, not L. So let's see if I select that and I go to modify, I can get at a fillet. So I press that, and if I push this one and that one, then I can bend it into a shape that makes sense. Okay, all right. Now, if that scale is not to your liking, guys, you can easily change that scale. And it's right here. And if half inch ain't it, quarter inch, go to that. If it happens to be something bigger for you, then you can go to 3/4, and maybe those scales work out better. Okay. I don't think it's 3/4. It's probably half for me. Maybe even 3/8 might be. No, let's go for half. All right. Anyway, you get the idea. Okay. And then if you want to put in your wood blocking down here in your sill, then I'm going to check and see if I have it already or not. Detail component. And let's see, I do. It's already loaded up. And these rotate on the space bar. So I'm going to use it to my advantage, just snap it there. Now this one doesn't have so if I click bring to front right here, even though it's in the front, it's transparent. I would like that to probably be solid, or I could tab around and get my insulation here. And then I could pull it back until it looks right. If I wanted to spend the time, I could obviously open this family and put a mask in behind it, so that way that wouldn't happen. Okay, I got one more item to put in here, and that's the J-bolt. That's going to run through this top, the sill plate in through the foundation into that wall. And again, you just go to component and look for your J-bolt. Let me see here. Expansion bolt. Yeah, see, sometimes the names of these families are not what you're expecting, and that was not what I wanted either. So let's see. Oh, no, it's an anchor, isn't it? Hook side anchor. I said the wrong thing. You guys are going to be tearing me up over this, I know. Please don't. All right. So it does have a way of changing its sizes. The diameter here happens to be what it is across here is 3/8 of an inch, but you can change its length by pulling on it right here at the top. See how I'm making it longer? So I need to go a little bit further, somewhere about there, and I can align it to the top of that. So we're good. All right. So that shows off the majority of that. Plus you can put in break lines too if you are a person that likes to do the edges through break lines. It depends on the company. Not everybody does that. We'll do it. I'm going to bring this down because this is all that's relevant for us. And then once I put the break line in, I'm going to turn off my borders too. All right, so let me do that. Let's go get a break line. So that's another annotation. Let's see, break. There it is. I saw it. If I could type right, I'd be okay. Right there. And spacebar will rotate it, put it into place. It's backwards, spacebar, spacebar. And there we go. And I'm going to turn off that hidden view category of the furniture. It's not relevant for my drafting view here. All right. And then if there were any other lines that I wanted to add in, if it had like, let's say it should have had a baseboard or something in here that I want to show off, and I didn't want to model it, I can get a detail line or I can get a filled region to show that off. Either or will work. I'd probably go for the filled region if I wanted a pattern of wood or something. So, I could do it like this, just make it up, whatever that is going to be, if it's half inch or something like that. And then this guy is going to be, let's say 4 inches off the floor. Now let's go for 6-inch baseboard. All right. And then if that wants to be like a curved edge, and also you can change that line weight. It's a thin edge, thin line, so it's pretty thin in terms of visibility. So if you select a line, you can get that arc to show up, and then just click here, and then just pull it in. That little line with a circle is letting you know you couldn't go that far. And then I'm stuck on the filled one, and I don't have a region for wood. So what I might do is edit the type, duplicate, and we'll just call this wood section. I can type, all right, pattern. And then right here, we can get different patterns. And I can look for wood. Looks like we do have something. We'll go for that one. And then say OK. And there you go. It's showing off in gray line weight. I don't really care for that. So maybe I'll go for the edit type one more time. Change the color to black lines. And then maybe the pattern needs to be a little bit smaller. Maybe this would too. It might be better. I don't know. You get the idea, right? Okay. You can play with those patterns. That's a whole other thing. Then if you needed to, you can see that this floor does show a finish on top of that other one. So, we might just start calling these things out. My break line needs to go. I'm going to hit, let's make more, put that at the top now. Now I'll turn off my border. I don't need that anymore. And also I'm going to hide out that, so that way it's not in my visibility. Okay. And then maybe I'll start doing some annotations. All right. So if I go to my text tool, it was asking me to save. I don't want to. I'm going to use my Angular. And then I'm going to just say, hey, this thing right here happens to be my siding. I'm going to make sure caps are on because that's the proper type of annotations you should be using when you're making plans. Do whatever your firm does or whatever your standard is. Okay. I'm not going to do every single one of these, but I could drag these down by copying by holding down my control key. Let's see, 1/2 inch sheathing, and I think I am going to go up in scale because this is not looking very good at that scale. Yeah, it's 1.5 is actually the appropriate scale for this. So I can bend that little elbow right there. Still maintains what it's pointing at. Probably want to get them to snap so that way they look a little bit more cleaner. All right, yeah, this looks far better. All right, and then yeah, just keep dragging it down. Maybe the next thing I'm going to be calling out there is the stud wall with insulation in it. All right, so I can say 2x4 stud wall with that insulation. All right. And you can always drag these little dots right here if you need to get it to kind of wrap text for you. Also, if it's orienting to the left, you can get it to orient to the right. So I would do that to all of them probably. That way you can get them all to snap to one another. See how they snap if I bring them in line with one another? There we go. And then I can clean it up a little. And then see how it's at the bottom here? You can change that alignment of the leader up here by picking this button right here. See, it shifts it up. All right. And if you keep pulling on this, it'll change that if it's 2 line or 1 line or whatever. Okay, so you can keep on calling out all those things if you want to. I'm not going to do every single one of them, but you get the idea. It's just text leaders is usually how you do it. And then once you're ready and this detail is fully formed, You could come out to your sheet of details. This is a wall section, and this would be my out of the box kind of makeshift sheet. It's nothing special, but here we go. And so I'm looking up my wall sections. So I need to look over here in the browser for my wall sections, and they are right here under the category. Notice because I'm in that view, it's bold black here. It will be bold black here, telling me that's the one. So I'm going to click on my A10 sheet, and I know where it is. And by the way, the blue color is telling me if it has been placed on a sheet before, so you can see that is happening on some of these. And so now this time when I've placed this on a sheet, I click to place it, and now it turns blue because it's on my A10 sheet. Okay, so this looks pretty good. And if I wanted to add to it, I could do more things by either going over here to it, changing things if I wanted to. I could double click here to activate this view, and I could work here on the sheet if I wanted to on this one view. Double click to get out off to the side, which is basically away from the border edge of this thing is where I'm double clicking to get out. There's also right clicks when you select stuff for, activating a view, or right clicking again to deactivate a view. Also, it's up here again to activate a view, or again, you don't get to deactivate though, which is kind of nuts. You still got to do a deactivate view that way. All right. So you can imagine that if you're creating any kind of window details or things like that, any kind of other section, it would be done in the same manner. Hope this helps, guys. Sorry for the long video.